Good afternoon. We are breaking into programming right now because we have breaking news out of Northwest D.C. We have learned that just shortly before noon today, a police officer was shot. He was shot, according to officials, at 7th Street and Oneida Place in Northwest D.C., not too far from the 4D or 4th District Police offices there, the police station. We're about a half a mile away from where he was shot.
Yeah, about 3.5 blocks as you take a look at the map on the bottom right there, and what we're looking at in the upper left, just so you know what we're talking about, that is Sky Fox that has been over the scene in Prince George's County. This is in Landover, where they believe they may have located a suspect vehicle, although that is still very much up in the air as to whether or not that is the case. But there's been a lot of police activity there outside that Checkers in Landover after a vehicle was spotted there that police believe may have matched a description of a vehicle that may have been involved in this shooting of a Washington, D.C. police officer just a short time ago. So we're still waiting on a lot of confirmation. We have a lot of unanswered questions right now. This is, even though this happened almost an hour ago, it's still a very fluid situation. But you see the response from D.C. police, and then, of course, in Prince George's County Police, obviously with a huge, massive presence in that area. As far as when we just checked with the police in D.C. a few minutes ago to find out if, in fact, they did have an arrest, they say they're working on things.
Yeah, so we're also working, as we gather all these information and these details, the condition of that officer. We do not know at this point in time, but we do understand that he has been taken to a nearby hospital.
Yeah, went to MedStar. We are told the condition is not good. Obviously, that could be a number of levels of concern, but right now police are not releasing any details. Police also not releasing any details as to whether or not this was actually an officer at 4D, because we don't know at this point if this is an officer who was in uniform at the time or if this was a plainclothes officer. What we do know is that where this shooting occurred at roughly 7th and Oneida Northwest, which is about 3 blocks from the 4D police station on Georgia Avenue, that the officer was shot in that area of 7th and Oneida and then was able to drive himself from there to the police station, where other officers apparently helped to make sure that he was able to get to the hospital. There you see on the map where the officer was shot, you see that yellow dot? And then the police station would be just up right about a block, kind of where the yellow and 29 come together there in the upper left. That's the police station. So you can see how close it was to that police station. But again, at this point, we don't know if this is a situation where the officer was in uniform and was targeted for being a police officer, or if this was something else that happened between gunmen and the person who was later determined to be an officer. I just checked with D.C. police, and they say they do not have or they're not willing to release that information at this time.
Yeah, but right now you're looking at our Sky Fox video over the scene now in Landover, where we believe the suspect vehicle have been found related to this case. We do not know at this point if a suspect is in custody or if there's more than one suspect involved, but I can tell you we have 2 of our reporters headed to the scenes of this, including David Kaplan as well as Bob Barnard, and we do have a media staging area. We should say that in Northwest D.C. We're expecting to get more official details shortly.
All right, I'm trying to just keep an eye on this Sky Fox shot right now to see where, I mean, obviously I have that entire intersection blocked off, but moving to the right to see which vehicles may or may not be police vehicles, because there's certainly a large police presence there. Kind of looks like, if anything, that's not a police vehicle. It might be closer to where the Checkers actually is at this point. So again, we don't know anything about the officer at this point, except for that officer was shot a few blocks away from the 4D police station on Georgia Avenue, and then somehow police were able to link a vehicle potentially to the incident, and you can see they were fairly confident in that link because of the large police presence there in that part of Landover, right off Landover Road, which you can see there. So not sure which vehicle it was. We can clearly see which ones are police vehicles, but we may have some, obviously some undercover police vehicles in there, or not marked police vehicles, I should say, as well.
Yeah, and I understand that's the intersection of Landover Road and Dodge Park Road. So obviously, if you're in that area, you want to avoid this part where they have the active investigation still happening.
Yeah, I mean, even that white vehicle that is parked askew there has lights flashing on the front of it. So as far as, although we're not going to try to make any guesses based on what we see there. We're going to wait until we get some confirmation from police. But again, as far as, you know, the question. The question as to whether or not there were arrests made, that we're still trying to figure out and get confirmed. Again, police say they're still working on that and how much information they want to release at what time.
We do know that that shooting occurred sometime shortly before noon today in Northwest D.C. We were told at 7th Street and Oneida Place Northwest, just about a half a mile away from the police station there, where that officer did manage to get there to get aid.
All right, Dave Kaplan has actually been working his way toward the scene. There we go. There we have some
activity here.
More activity as to what's happening. Let's get to Dave Kaplan right now. Maybe he can let us know a little bit more as far as what is going on and what this connection may be. David?
FB yet.
Dave, you got us?
Is it possible it's my ear?
All right, David, we do not have. All right, so we're going to try to get an idea. As obviously, we have someone who has been apprehended on that scene. Do not have a tie-in at this time. Don't have any confirmation that that person was involved in this shooting in D.C. We do know that there is a very heavy police presence around that individual, who is certainly in handcuffs right now, sitting on the sidewalk. We're trying to link up with David Kaplan, who was there at the scene. That's his camera positioning that you're seeing on that gentleman there on the screen. But as soon as we get in touch with David and he can hear us, then we'll try to get some more details from him as far as what led up potentially to this apprehension.
Absolutely. I know initially we heard of a crash potentially happening. We do not know if that is the case. Dave, can you hear us? Is David good? Okay, David.
Yes, I got you guys. You got me?
Speed, David. Yes, we can hear you of what's happening there.
All right, we just got to the scene here. This is Dodge Park Road and Landover Road here near FedEx Field. We just got here to this scene. Prince George's County Police has confirmed there's been an apprehension. We are not 100% confirmed on connected to the D.C. incident, just that there was this arrest. And I can also tell you there are several D.C. police cruisers here, which is not something that you would ordinarily see here in Prince George's County. I'm going to step out right now. Again, we have not confirmed the suspect in custody exactly connected with this, but we can tell you there is a massive police presence here, that someone is in custody, someone with Prince George's County Police has confirmed an arrest. And I can tell you that Prince George's County Police, Cheverly Police are here, as well as Metropolitan Police officers and detectives. We're giving you a look down. This is a long stretch of the road here on Landover Road that is closed at this time. So this is a very, very, very large investigation that's happening right now. You can see off in the distance the road is closed, and this police presence is large. So again, one person is in custody. We do know that they are still sitting there right now. We have not confirmed the exact connection here, but that's definitely something that we're waiting to learn more about. Prince George's County Police has said, again, that arrest that has been made. So we're working to learn more about that. As also part of that, as we pan to the left here, just to give you some insights, you can see there is a vehicle that is on its side. It looks like a blue Honda. I'm trying to get a look. It looks like what the plates are from here, but definitely it's something that police here on the scene are spending a lot of time looking at this vehicle, investigating this vehicle. I can tell you that it does appear to be two Metropolitan police officers who are standing by this person who is in custody. Again, we do not know. I want to stress and reiterate, we do not know the exact of the person in custody with what has happened earlier, but definitely somebody that is here, a large D.C. police presence here. And again, Cheverly, we're seeing Prince George's County. Definitely an active investigation. This is a busy stretch of road here at the intersection of Landover Road and Dodge Park Road. So I can also tell you that that is shut down, at least going one way. So there's certainly obviously some traffic impacts of this. And it doesn't look like whatever we're looking at right now is going to be wrapped up anytime soon. We're seeing just such a large presence of detectives and police that are investigating. But yes, a very large D.C. police presence that is here. And we have to stress and reiterate that that is not always something that you see on a situation like this, the amount of D.C. police officers, but given sort of what we're talking about, the nature of this, the fact that Prince George's County Police has confirmed some sort of arrest at this time, definitely we're still working to piece together exactly what the connection is with all of this, but certainly we're going to keep asking those questions and keep hoping to get some insights from Prince George's County Police about what exactly, and D.C. Police obviously, about sort of what exactly the nature nature of all this is.
Hey, David, bear with us for a second and hang tight, because we're going to ask you some questions that I'm sure you already answered in part, but we're just trying to put as many pieces together as we can, and we're trying to let viewers know as much as possible as to what is going on. It does appear that the license plate on that blue vehicle says Greene County, and
I have lost my IFB.
Okay, David,
for whatever it's worth, I've lost my IFB.
All right, we're going to work on the connection once again. We'll let you know, we'll kind of paraphrase what David said, and then as soon as we get him back, we'll have him explain a little bit more about the connection. It does appear that is a Greene County license plate. It does look to the semi-trained eye like it might be a personalized Virginia plate, one of the outdoors type plates of Greene. That if in fact that is the case, that would be in the Shenandoah, essentially is where Greene County, Virginia is. So relatively far from where the car is now in Prince George's County, in the Landover area. As far as any connection between the vehicle, the person who was apprehended next to the vehicle, and the scene that played out in Washington, D.C., we don't have a definitive line that we can draw between the three. However, we do have
Okay.
All right. We do. Sorry, we're trying to get some more information as we talk. We do have some connections between the three, as we do know that the police officer was shot in D.C. We do know that they had a suspect vehicle that they were keeping an eye out for. We do know that this particular vehicle crashed in Landover, and that there immediately is a huge police presence. It looks like they're actually trying to. Maybe they're going to stand up the person who was apprehended that is on the sidewalk right now next to that vehicle. Unfortunately, the update that we have on the officer is not good. We are being told that the officer suffered life-threatening injuries after being shot a couple of blocks away from the 4D police station off Georgia Avenue.
Yeah, now the scene that we're looking at now here in Prince George's County, again, we do not know that person's involvement, if any, to this case. We do not know if that's the only person that police are looking at and looking for. But this scene is at Landover Road and Dodge Park Road. That's the intersection there, not too far from FedEx Field.
All right, do we have David? David, we can reconnect with Dave. Okay, all right, we're still working to reconnect with Dave Kaplan. Just let us know upstairs when you do get him.
DC police contact told us that non-life-threatening injuries to the officer.
Oh,
non-life-threatening. Huge difference.
Okay.
Huge difference. Okay, well, that is much better news then, obviously, than we had been told previously. So that would be a huge development then if the officer actually indeed has non-life-threatening injuries. So we're going to get all these confirmations for you. As you can imagine, the information is coming in and from various different police sources as well. So we're getting a little bit here, a little bit there, and we're trying to put the pieces together as best as we can for you. But that vehicle, again, don't have the definitive link that that's the vehicle that was involved. What we know is that police had an immediate interest in that vehicle. And as you can see from not just the vehicle on its side in the bottom right, but all the police cars that are there in the upper left, as it looks like they're now walking that suspect into a Prince George's County. Are they going to put in Prince? You have D.C. police, Prince George's County police. Okay, the Prince George's County police car is in the front. We'll see if they. No, they're going to put in a Prince George's County police car. But you do have Prince George's County and D.C. police there with that suspect who has been apprehended and now being placed in the back of a Prince George's County police vehicle.
And for those of you who are just joining us and wanting to come up to speed on what has actually occurred earlier this afternoon, we said that just before noon, a D.C. police officer was shot. We do not know if he was on duty at the time or off duty, but we do know that it happened in Northwest D.C. At the intersection of 7th Street and Oneida Place. That's very close, or Oneida Place rather, to the 4D police station. And he did manage to get there to get aid, and he's now being treated at a hospital. The most recent report is that he sustained non-life-threatening injuries. Non-life-threatening.
Which would be great news if that was the case, because that was not the early reports that came in. So hopefully, you know, as time goes by and they get more and more of an evaluation of that officer, that the news will get better for the officer himself. But also, we don't know what it was that led up to this shooting at this point. I just checked back in with D.C. police, and they said that they're not releasing that information at this point. A lot of it they don't even have. But that's just the question, is because this happened roughly 3 to 4 blocks away from the police station, if this was a situation where it was an officer in uniform who was targeted, or if it was a plainclothes officer or an officer out of uniform who may have been the victim of another crime, and it just happens they're a police officer. We don't know at this point.
You can imagine and surmise that this scene will be this way for quite some time. I'm hearing that, David, you're back with us. The audio is working, and you can share more details there live from the scene.
Yeah, I'm here. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
We can hear you, and we can see you now, Dave. Dave, I was just hoping that you could try to connect some of the dots. I know you went over it earlier, but we're trying to link as many parts of this story together as we can. What do you know?
So the suspect that I was telling you about just a few minutes ago, control room, I've got a little mixed minus for what it's worth. The suspect that I was just telling you about was just walked into a Prince George's County police cruiser. And again, I said suspect. This is somebody who's been detained in connection with this crash that we're talking about right now with D.C. police here. I can tell you it was a D.C. police officer as well as a Prince George's County police officer who was walking that person who's in custody to the cruiser. I can tell you that they searched that person before placing him in the cruiser. And at this point here at the scene, it appears that's the only person who is being detained at this time. But definitely can tell you, as we're giving you a live picture here, that the police presence is pretty strong. I can also tell you that some of the sort of the brass of D.C. police appear to be here. And I can tell you that a major investigations detective with Prince George's County Police has just arrived on scene as well. So this is definitely just that their presence alone sort of gives you some insights about the nature of this investigation and how seriously it is being taken at this time as we're working to learn more, again, just about the exact connection of all of this to what has taken place in D.C. All we have confirmed with Prince George's County Police at this time is that there is someone who is in custody, and I can tell you that we are also seeing a large D.C. police presence that is here. So I can tell you that it was Metropolitan Police as well as Prince George's Police that sort of participated in the search before placing the person who was in custody into the Prince George's County Police cruiser. And again, we're giving you this live picture right now as traffic continues just going one way of this vehicle that appears to be on its side. It is on its side. The driver's side, it's on the driver's side. And again, we're told that public information officer with Prince George's County Police is also en route to the scene just to sort of give us a little bit of a debrief here. And as you can see, just a huge police presence. Another thing I wanted to point out to you, Doug, if you don't mind going to the right a little bit, I can tell you that I saw some officers walking up and down, sort of searching that grassy area as well. So that's just another sort of component to this investigation of what exactly we're seeing right now in terms of sort of what police are looking at. So if you look down sort of under that Exxon sign, you can see 3 police cruisers from D.C. police that are there as part of this as well. And then further off into the distance, we can definitely see just a larger, even more police that appear to be sort of parked in a parking lot down there as well. And then panning even further to the right, you can just see another huge swath of police officers that are here at this scene on Landover Road and Dodge Park Road. So definitely an active investigation that's happening, definitely a large police presence, definitely a presence of police officers who are high up in the chain of command as it relates to D.C. police as well as Prince George's County Police. And let's just give you another look at this car. Since we got here about 15, 20 minutes ago, I can tell you that that car really has been the focal point of the investigation. Obviously, it is a car on its side, but kind of what you're looking at right now is what we're seeing. That back window is shattered. Unclear if it's from the crash or something else, but we see an officer sort of peeking into the back of that vehicle right there, and just definitely active and ongoing, and definitely something that we don't expect to clear up anytime soon, but we are hoping to continue just getting more information about the exact Prince George's connection here, other than to say that one person confirmed is in custody. We are waiting to confirm the exact nature of the connection to the D.C. incident, if there is one, but we can tell you that there is a large D.C. police presence that's here right now.
Yeah, Dave, hang with us for 1 second, and thank you for bringing us the pictures and the different angles. We've got Sky Fox up in the upper left of your screen, and then you have David's camera and photographer Doug Wilkes there on the bottom part of the screen showing you that vehicle, and that's the same camera that we were showing you that suspect in custody earlier this morning. As we continue to take a look at it, and you know, Dave Kaplan is absolutely right. You know, you wouldn't typically see that many higher-ranking D.C. police officers out of their jurisdiction unless this is a matter that would apply to the higher echelon to be there. And when you see, and typically, you know, you recognize them by the white shirts that you're seeing from the D.C. Police Department. It is not common for that many high-ranking officers to leave their jurisdiction unless this is a scene that would involve something with their jurisdiction. So, without telling you that they're there for this particular reason, you get an idea that at least there's enough information and enough in their minds that they should be there, Now, the other thing that's interesting, and Dave, I'll bring you back into this to see if you have any more knowledge on it. When we took that look down to the right now we're close up on some of the contents that spilled out of that vehicle onto the street. And like David mentioned, I mean, the back window is shattered. We don't know if that's from the crash or from something else that may have caused it to shatter. But to that point, Dave, you know, when we look and you pan down the street all the way to the right, I mean, we didn't just see D.C. and Prince George's County police vehicles. I mean, their Metro Transit police is there. So I don't know if this was a call for just everybody to come to this area, if it was a response after the crash, or if some of those police vehicles were involved in something that led to that crash. David, do you have any information there?
You know, I don't at this point. I did notice the Metro Transit Police SUV that was further down as well when we gave you that shot down there. It's tough to say what the exact involvement is, other than to say that this is something that it's very clear that the law enforcement of the area was dedicated to figuring out whatever this was. So you touched on Metro Transit. I touched on our last time we talked about Chevrolet Police, Prince George's definitely be a part of this. And, you know, we could see Metropolitan Police, definitely. D.C. Police have a stake in this vehicle as well. And obviously that presence that you talked about sort of speaks to that. But the sort of exact nature of sort of how everybody got to where we are right now, that's definitely something that we are hoping to figure out sooner rather than later.
Yes, and we see there Landover Road now blocked between Dodge Park Road and Kent Plaza, just so that you all will know and have a vantage point of how wide that scene is. And to your knowledge, David, this is the only concentration of the investigation right now, as far as we know it, when it comes to a potential suspect.
Yeah, that is all we know as of right now. Our Fox 5 assignment desk was on top of this, and indications are that there are no other sort of major areas of concentration that are connected in Prince George's County right now. Certainly nothing this big. Certainly nothing that we would see this level of D.C. police at as well. And that's definitely something that we're hoping to find out just a little bit more about how everybody got here. But as you touched on, and Lord knows we've been giving you these images for a while now, the amount of the police presence here certainly speaks to the seriousness of whatever is going on. And, you know, we're trying to find out more. What I can also tell you, and this is something I'm going to work to try and see if we can get that person to chat with us. If we give you a look to the left here, there does appear to be another vehicle that is here. I don't know if that vehicle, it has a little bit of rear end damage. You can see there's a gentleman sort of checking that vehicle, and here we have a tow truck showing up live as well. So unclear what exactly is going on, but that man looks to have taken some stuff out of his vehicle and is also sort of here on this scene as well, and appearing to begin a conversation with a tow truck driver. So, you know, we don't know exactly how this car flipped, but we do know that this is certainly such a huge focal point in Prince George's County right now. The tow truck driver just got out and has taken some pictures of that other vehicle. So there is another person who may be involved in the traffic component of this, very much stressing that person's not in custody, but definitely, you know, just another angle to this as police are continuing this investigation. And Landover Road going going that one direction is shut down right now. This appears to be, it's the eastbound direction that is shut down at this time.
Yeah, probably will be for a while, too. And I appreciate, David, thanks very much for getting that look on that second vehicle. And, you know, just the way that they were taking pictures of it, and obviously there was some damage to the rear of that car. Could have been there a while or not, but that wheel looks definitely askew. So I don't think that they drove it into that position with that left rear wheel looking the way it does now, and especially since that's the area where it looked like police were trying to take some pictures as well. So, yeah, good possibility that that could have been involved in whatever caused the blue car to end up on its side. You know, Dave, from that car itself, and I know you've been at the scene now for 20 minutes or so, and you've been keeping an eye on it. Aside from the suspect who came out, was the suspect already apprehended when you got there? Was question number one. Question number two, did they take anything out of that car, or have they just been walking around and taking photos?
So the answer to question number one there, we rushed to the scene here. Doug was kind of getting everything organized to be able to bring you these live pictures. I ran down here and sort of came directly to where this camera is right now, and I saw that person in custody when I got here. So again, we have to stress, person in custody, still working to confirm what, if any, exact connection there is to the DC police incident, but I can tell you that there is a large DC police presence here that is larger than what we may ordinarily see with an incident in Prince George's County. So we just want to stress the exact nuanced nature of what we have sort of confirmed right now. To your second question, I have not seen, of all the police officers and all the detectives who have been around that blue vehicle, I have not seen them pick anything up. I have only seen them sort of look inside. There was one officer at one point who was looking at the dashboard. We just brought you live images of another officer looking through the shattered window. Again, unclear how it got shattered or what exactly happened. It does appear as though there is glass right below where it shattered. So just to add some as much context to that as possible. But I have not seen them personally pick anything up or touch anything in connection with this vehicle. Obviously, what they're going to do here is process this scene. And just from past experience, you know, sometimes if there's sort of a multi-jurisdictional component to this, they're obviously going to want to be thorough, and as part of any investigation, make sure that, you know, the chain of command, the chain of whatever evidence there may be, there's a proper protocol to make sure that whatever this investigation is, it's one that they're doing completely and thoroughly. I mentioned earlier some of the brass of Prince George's County Police and DC Police here. Just to give you some context to that, there's a meeting amongst some of those brass, some of those white shirts that's happening right now as part of this. I can't tell you definitively right now whether or not that is also Metropolitan Police directly involved in that, but I can tell you obviously there's Metropolitan Police off to the right there behind that cruiser that we're giving you a live picture of right now. So definitely nothing is moving particularly fast, that's for sure, but obviously they have to do their investigation and sort of put all the pieces together, especially as I was touching on earlier, you know, if there is sort of a multi-jurisdictional component to all of this.
And I know we've been focusing right there, but we just got some news in from our news desk here, confirmed from D.C. Police that there are 2 people who have been detained, rather, in Prince George's County. So we're still working to get all the details on that, but that is the latest there, David.